Hey folks, it's your buddy Mike Messier. I thought I'd come out here and do a nice little film review. I got a chance to see Theater Camp. This was part of Regal Cinema's mystery movie night. This was Monday of this week. Today is Wednesday, so it's not quite an instant movie review, but it's close enough. So you might be wondering, well, gee whiz, Mike, what's a mystery movie? I've noticed that Regal Cinemas, AMC Cinemas, I don't know. Yeah, Cinemark does this as well from time to time. Basically, you buy a ticket at a discounted price. This was bucks on Monday night, but you don't know what movie you're going to see. I went to one at Cinemark a few months ago, and they surprised us with Goonies, the original, not Goonies, Gremlins, the original Gremlins. This one was advertised as being a sneak preview of an upcoming film. Once again, we weren't told, we being the audience, the paying audience, you're actually paying to not know what you're going to see. So you're taking a bit of a risk here. But after about 20 minutes of previews, up comes Theater Camp. They first had this kind of graphic on the screen advertising Theater Camp. I guess it's coming out July 14th or some such thing. And I have seen the preview for this movie. Basically, the movie begins. It's a mockumentary of Theater Camp for kids. And I think this is the type of movie, should you see it, should you not, before I get into any spoilers, I think you can go see it. I think it's a comedy that most people would get something out of. Most people would enjoy it. It's not terribly offensive, but I mean, they do have, it's not a safe little baby movie either. It does have some funny stuff. So now let's get into the movie review. Like I said, I saw this June 26th of 2023. The movie's not coming out for a few weeks. So most of you probably haven't seen it. If you want to go see the movie first and then come back, please don't forget me. Come back and watch my review. So we have, a bunch of characters. And what this movie's about, it starts off, it's basically a mockumentary. It's not a documentary, but a mockumentary of this kind of struggling theater camp that apparently does not charge as much money as they could because they want to reach out to most kids that can go. Now, there's an opposing theater camp that we never really get to see, but we hear of this opposing rich kids theater camp. But this is the theater camp for kind of the middle of the road families to send their kids to. We meet the two women that are in charge of this theater camp. One, I guess, is kind of the manager, and one's the owner. And unfortunately, early in the film, like I said, spoilers, Joan has a bit of a issue, an attack of sorts, and ends up in a coma. And that's kind of the catalyst right off the bat. Within 5 or 6 minutes of this movie starting, we have our catalyst moment. We know what's the big thing is that the normal champion of this theater camp is out of action. She's in a coma, and her son, who's not a theater person, her son is a kind of a jocko, kind of a bra, kind of a Joe Rogan type of guy. He is put in the leadership position of this camp. So it's kind of a fish out of water thing. And typically if you're thinking about stuff like, Revenge of the Nerds or something like that, the fish out of water would be the nerd who's trying to fit in with the jocks and those type of movies. But this one, it's the reverse of that. It's the kind of the jocko frat boy type who's trying to fit in with all these theater kids and theater people. And so one of his first moves is that he fires a bunch of them and hires one young woman who's been lying on her resume claiming to be a stage combat teacher and a mask teacher and all these things, but she's really not qualified at all. Now, this is kind of an ensemble piece. I mean, it really depends on how you look at this movie. There's one right up here that kind of puts a lot of emphasis on the Ben Platt and Molly Gordon characters. They play Amos and Rebecca Diane, lifelong best friends and drama instructors. I really saw this movie as being more from, I kind of feel like Ben Platt and Molly Gordon probably wrote this press release that made themselves a star, because to me, the real star was the Troy character. He's the guy that's inherited the theater camp. and he's the fish out of water. He's the guy that doesn't fit in. And I thought his character was pretty good. I just saw this guy in a movie called The Machine a few weeks ago. And I never really saw this guy before. I did a little bit of research on this actor, Jimmy Tatro. Apparently, he was a big YouTube star, YouTube sensation, who's now a big movie star. So good for him. But I thought he did pretty well. He's kind of like if you took, what's the guy for the Magic Mike movies? That guy, and squished him down into like a size medium. Like if you took your Magic Mike and you squished him into a little mini guy, that would be this guy. So, he's fairly likable as a character and as an actor and so forth. And, and then the theater people, I mean, I think this movie's really going to resonate the most with people that are actually theater people, which I would say maybe I have one toe in that ocean, not a whole foot. But I've been around those circles enough to tell you that it can be very annoying. It can be very cliquish. It can be very obnoxious, but there's a lot of vulnerability there too with the theater world, with the theater people. And so I think all those things are kind of in this film. I mean, they're kind of like, you have this subculture, but then there's the culture of the subculture is kind of the same as the middle culture, or the medium culture, the mainstream culture. It's just people, with their social caste systems and looking down on each other and romance and this and that. And it's all the same crap, all the same humanity. I mean, the movie did definitely have some laugh out loud moments. I did literally, as the fucking kids say, laugh out loud a few times. So I enjoyed myself. The audience that I happened to see this with, there was also a lot of laughter. People seemed to enjoy this experience of seeing this movie. We were all quite happy, enjoying it for our $5. And so on and so forth. Let me think if there's anything. I mean, if you think about other camp movies, camp movies are kind of a niche within a niche. A lot of times they're like horror movies, like tons of B horror films that take place at a camp, or even I think it was the original Friday the 13th takes place at a camp. Jason Voorhees, right? But then you think about things like Meatballs, and that was more of a raucous late 70s comedy, Bill Murray and so forth, and all the sequels. But I think this is a movie that's probably overdue. I think that, I just think back, if this movie had been released, theater camp I'm talking about, if this had been made in the 80s or 90s, there would be VHS tapes that were just worn thin, because I think all the theater kids would have to go out and buy a copy and watch it over and over and over again. And I can just see already, and I can hear it in my head, that I think that actual theater kids throughout this country are going to get this movie, memorize all the fucking lines, have all these lines as punchlines. I think this movie kind of feeds into that. I'm not the biggest mockumentary fan, just going back to the history of mockumentaries, things like, what was that, Waiting for Guffman and A Mighty Wind, like those types of Christopher Guest and all those guys. They made a bunch. I like the woman from Home Alone that was in those movies, the mom from Home Alone. I can't remember, Catherine or something, Catherine O'Hara, but I liked her. The rest of the people, I never really liked those mockumentaries too much. The Best in Shows. I mean, I know that they existed. They did great money. They just weren't my thing. But I think this one, Theater Camp, I think it's kind of taken that formula to the next level. I think it's I kind of liked it better than those movies from 10 or 15 or 20 years ago, to be honest with you. So there you go. I guess I'm voting thumbs up, for Theater Camp. And also, if this summer, we're still, before the 4th of July, if you get a chance to see one of these mystery movies, it's not going to kill you to give it a shot. I suppose if the movie that you start to watch really is not to your liking, you could walk out and demand your $5 back, or sneak into another auditorium. That's it. If you want to watch my movies, go to One Man and a Camera Films. If you're a pro wrestling fan, One Pro Wrestling and Sports fan, and this channel is whatever it is, my channel. All right, talk to you later.